Hey everybody, it's Lo and welcome back to my channel, Lo Without Limits. Today I'm going to show you how to make your very own crackers. So if you want to see how to do that, then just keep watching. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you know that I do have a gluten-free diet. If you're new to my channel, then hello, my name is Lo, and I have a gluten-free diet. And while things have definitely improved over the years, before I feel like there were very few gluten-free brands for bread and crackers and pasta and everything, and now almost everything you can find gluten-free and so many options, so you can definitely find one that you like. I still think it's great to be able to make your own food so you know exactly what's going into it. So for these crackers, I really pulled inspiration from Simple Mills because on the side of the box they do have the ingredients. So I took those and I decided to play around with them a bit. If you follow me on Instagram at Lo Without Limits, I have been posting stories of my different trial runs with the crackers, and I've finally gotten it right, so I'm super excited to share it with you guys. So let's get started with that. Now, the flour that I tested these crackers out with and finally got it to work was this Bob's Red Mill super fine almond flour. I liked it because, again, it was super fine, so it was easy to blend. And I do have other gluten-free baking flours, like a 1-to-1 baking flour and just other ones that are different flours mixed together. And I didn't want to try those because I know that those are good for like cupcakes and donuts, muffins, things like that. But for something where basically what you're eating is just a form of the flour baked, I wanted it to be one that I knew that the taste would be good and was super simple. So this is literally just ground up almonds, and I'm not gonna make a whole lot, so based off the recipe that I have, you can feel free to make more or less by just doubling or reducing whatever it is. And with this batch today, I am making it with just a half a cup of the almond flour, and then to thicken them up a bit, and that way it's just not almond flour, I'm going to add in some ground flaxseed. I keep them in this little pop container in my refrigerator just so they stay nice and fresh. So I'm just gonna do a really big tablespoon of that. And these two things I'm going to mix together before I add in everything else. From here, you want to add in a little bit of baking powder. I'm going to do, I couldn't find my 1/4 teaspoon, so I only have a half, so I'm just gonna do less than a half. So it's like a 1/4. And here you can also add whatever seasonings and spices that you like. So I'm going to add salt, pepper, some garlic powder, and I got some rosemary in my last Imperfect Produce box, so I'm going to chop that up finally and add that in there as well. And again, if you've watched any of my videos, you know how much I love onion and garlic. So if you don't love it as much, definitely don't need to add as much. And then the reason I'm just using some salt and pepper from my shakers instead of my grinders is because it being thinner definitely helped it bake easier and allowed all the flavors to blend in better. I feel like when I used my salt grinder that it was just too chunky, and some pieces just had that really big chunk of salt in them. And again, I'm just adding in rosemary, but feel free to add in whatever flavors you like. I do want to try next making these crackers with nutritional yeast to see if it gives it that nice vegan cheesy flavor. Alright, once you have your dry ingredients with whatever flavors that you want all mixed up and they're pretty evenly blended up in your bowl, you're going to add in some avocado oil. I tried avocado oil and olive oil as I was testing these out, and the olive oil made it a bit too slimy. Once they were done cooking, I just felt like you could kind of taste how oily they were. So avocado oil was definitely my favorite when making these. And I'm going to do 2-ish tablespoons. I say 2-ish because I'm just gonna let it fill up and then go over a bit. At this point, you can also turn on your oven, and I put it to 325 degrees. I feel like having it a bit lower and letting it cook a bit longer allowed them to crisp up without burning, whereas when I had it at 350 and 375, they just burnt pretty quickly. So 325 I found is one of the better temperatures. Now mix that oil into your dry ingredients. And it will look a bit chunky, and that's okay. And from here, add in a little bit of water. I put some water in my little measuring cup, that way it's easier to just scoop out with the tablespoon and put into the thing. So I did about 2 for right now, and of course if you need more, you can always add more after. Now mix the water in, and as you can see, it looks a lot more like a batter. You can smell the rosemary and garlic in this. Just have it sit there while you get your pan ready. So for this, since I am again just using a 1/2 cup of the almond flour, so this is a smaller batch, I only need 1 pan, and it does fill up the pan a lot. So keep that in mind if you are making double or triple this amount, to maybe have 2 pans ready, or to know that once your 1 pan comes out with 1 batch, you can put a second pan back in. But I only need 1 pan for this today, and I'm going to add on some parchment paper. I do have my silicone baking mats, and I tried those a few times with it, but the batch that came out the best was on parchment paper. So that way I don't screw it up on the video by using my silicone baking sheet. I'm just gonna stick to the parchment paper because I know it'll work, and that way I don't have to make a second batch and reshoot this video afterwards. So I will be using that, and plus everybody has parchment paper, not everybody has the silicone baking sheets. And now for the fun part, you must take your dough and lay it out to be crackers. So here's the thing, I don't have a rolling pin, and I tried rolling it with like a wine bottle or anything I had in the refrigerator, and it just wasn't working. So we're gonna use our hands today. It's almost like Play-Doh though, so if you have kids, maybe they'll enjoy making crackers with you. Just pressing it out. And you don't want to make it too thin to where they'll burn easily or break easily. So I found when I was trying to dip them in my hummus, the thinner ones did not stay together. They would just like crack right away. So you'll kind of know when you see it, and I'll show you what I mean when I'm all done. Pressing it out with my fingers, like the amateur I am. Okay, I'm not sure if you can tell, but in comparison, I suppose, it's not super thin, but it's not really thick. It's, you know, like a cracker. Half of a pinky. Third of a pinky. You'll take your knife and then just start to cut lines, and what I realized is that if you go in and just push down on the knife with the knife, then it cuts it without making it look ugly. When I was doing it by like dragging it apart, as you could see, it kind of lifted up the edges here, so that just made the crackers look ugly. So if you want some cute crackers, I would say they're a little over 1 inch by 1 inch, and the oven is ready. But again, these are not going to be perfectly beautiful, but they will be perfectly delicious. Alright, so here they are. The oven again is preheated to 325 degrees, and I'm going to put them in there and put the timer to 20 minutes. About 12 minutes, I'm going to take them out and just rotate them. That way they cook evenly in my oven. So again, kind of pay attention to them, especially if it's your first time doing it, to see how your oven cooks them. So I will flip them at 12 minutes, and then at 15 minutes, I'm just going to start keeping a close eye on them, because typically around 18 minutes they'll look their best. But again, depending on your oven, depending on their thickness, depending on how many there are, it may cook a little bit faster or slower. So again, 20 minutes on the timer, flip at 12, start paying close attention at 15. And here they go. And I will see you guys at 15 minutes just so we can check on them together. All right, now I'm just going to check on them. So as you can see, they are getting a little gold around the edges, but they can use a little bit longer. And we'll see how they're doing in a few minutes. Again, just keep a really close eye on them, especially if this is your first time making crackers in your oven. All right, so I kept checking on the crackers, and it's been 18 minutes, and I'm going to take them out of the oven. And look at how golden and crispy those are. Of course, these ones were a bit thinner, so they are a bit more crispy than the other ones, but they're nice and gold in comparison to the color that they were when I first put them on the pan. So they have a nice golden edge and they just look so, so good. And they're pretty easy to break apart as well. And these crackers will last you about a week on the counter in a nice container like a mason jar or a Pyrex. But when you're only making a little bit like this and they taste so good, they won't last a week. Like, they might not even last a day. And these crackers are so good depending on the flavor that you put in them. You can use them with some jam, some jelly, so maybe some chia jelly if that's what you want to make. I, the other day, made some hummus. So I'm going to take a dip in there. And because of that thickness, and because they're just cooked so perfectly without being burnt, they did not crack even though my hummus is a little thick this time around. So good. Well, there you have it. That is how you can make your very own gluten-free, dairy-free, paleo, vegan crackers in just 30 minutes. They're so easy, and again, you can make the flavor however you want using fresh herbs like rosemary, like how I did if you want to. And it is just so simple and so delicious. Something great to throw on a cheese plate or take to a party, and you know exactly what's in them. So if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you ever tried to make your own crackers before and what you want to see more of on my channel. And while you're there, be sure to subscribe. I upload a new video every Wednesday. So until the next one, thanks for watching.